Hello, everyone. Welcome to the post-election podcast for the Christian Nationalist Party. As always, I am your host, Jeremiah Stamper I, the president and founder of the CNP. It is November 10th. I took the day off after the midterms because it was rough. It was bad. Nevada and Arizona still aren't called yet because, of course, they're doing everything they can to cheat. Georgia is heading for a runoff election, which doesn't look good. I mean, without Herschel Walker following on the coattails of Brian Kemp like he had during the full election, I don't think he's going to get elected again. Or not again, I don't think he's going to get elected at all. The most disturbing thing, and what we've talked about in writing today too, is in Pennsylvania, Fetterman beat Oz, which, I mean, Oz was a garbage candidate from the start. He was a rhino without even having been elected. But Fetterman is absolutely awful in policy, but even more so, he's a recovering stroke victim. He doesn't have his mental capacity back yet. He can't speak. He can't interpret speech, which are both things that are required as a U.S. senator. So the fact that so many people voted for him, even if you ignore the cheating, is disgusting. It is sad, and it shows how brainwashed most of the country is, especially of my generation and the Gen Zs. And then also from Pennsylvania, something we need to talk about, which is really starting to, I don't want to say panic me, but it's starting to show me just how messed up our nation is, how messed up these generations are. A politician with the last name DeLuca, Anthony DeLuca, was elected. He's a Democrat, but that's not the scary part. The scary part is he was dead for a month prior to the election. So Democrat voters would rather vote in a dead person than anybody else. This idea of vote blue, no matter who, has gotten insane. The Democrats are looking exactly like the Nazis. I don't mean that to sound contrite. I don't mean that to be metaphorical. That they literally are acting just like the Nazis. They are overly emphatic for their party. They go for their party no matter what the circumstance. They believe every single ounce of propaganda that their party and the mainstream media puts out. They have severe cognitive dissonance. I mean severe. You can put any amount of evidence in front of them, and it doesn't matter if it's contrary to what the media has told them to believe, to what Biden has told them to believe, to what Pelosi has told them to believe, to what AOC tells them. They are incredibly brainwashed by the party. I mean, this is like something out of 1984, not to keep rehashing that stupid trend that's saying, but it's literally true. This is like 1984. And if Goebbels is not cheering from hell, I don't know what to tell you. He has to be. They are doing it better than he did in World War II and leading up to World War II. They have the millennials and Gen Z so horribly brainwashed that I don't know how we're going to save things. Especially when you look at exit polls and you see that 73% of them said that they were very unhappy, very dissatisfied with how the country was being run and how things are going, and they still vote for the same people, one of which is dead. The other one has such severe brain damage that he can't even do his job. I I I don't have words because I can't fathom the mind of someone who thinks like that. I mean, they need to create a whole new syndrome for this. Literally, like something needs to be, there has to be a psychological syndrome that allows this to happen. I mean, it needs to be up there with Stockholm syndrome. Something something has warped their minds so horribly that they cannot think for themselves. They can't process information that's not spoon-fed to them by certain people. They have no feelings or guidance on what's good or bad. They can't discern evil from good. They're just totally and completely brainwashed. And there's no arguing with them. There's no talking to them. They just hurl an ism or an ist at you and then walk away, or if they don't assault you over it. Which, again, going back to the Democrats are literally turning into the Nazi party. That involves violence, and they have been using violence now for the last, 4 years, ever since they burned down half our country with their mostly peaceful protests, which, again, half of our nation believes that those were peaceful protests, which you're disavowing the proof of your own eyes and ears just because the propaganda machine tells you to. That is literally a bit out of 1984, and it's happening. It's happening. It has been happening, and it's terrifying. And I mean, what we can do to fix it, I can't say, because that would probably be treasonous or sedition. I'd have the FBI knocking. We're in for a rough time, but we can't give up. We can't, especially if you have kids, and then you're going to have grandkids living here. Your choices are either abandon this nation for somewhere else, which at this point I'm not even going to say is not a valid idea, or you have to stay and fight for it. Personally, I've had an ancestor in every major war in this country since the revolution. So, as someone who served in the army himself, I feel like it's my duty to stay here and fight for it. I'm not saying that's physically, at least for sure not yet. But at this point, I don't know what's going to fix this country other than if there's a full-out revolution or another civil war. A part of me does it hope that the South secedes again, that Florida, Texas, and a bunch of those deep red states get together and say, you know what, the rest of you are insane. The rest of you are getting people killed, destroying and hurting kids. You're full of groomers and pedophiles. You're destroying everything that generations of Americans have bled and sweat to build, so we're out of here. Yeah, if it came down to it and the deep red South decided to rise up again, I'd pick up a rifle and go help them out. I'd do that in a heartbeat. Because unfortunately, so many people in these younger generations have fallen for the brainwashing. I don't think they're savable because their cognitive dissonance is so bad. If you present them with legitimate evidence against what they want to think and believe because of propaganda, they lose their minds, which is what cognitive dissonance is. So it's unfortunate that we can't have reasonable, good discussions with people who have already been sold on the liberal agenda. It's just not possible. Personally, I'm at a point where if you're on that side, I'm not going to be your friend. I'm not going to treat you poorly. I'm not going to crap on you. I'm going to say hi. I'll shake your hand if you offer it, but you're never going to know where I live. You're never going to hopefully even know my kids' names or how many I have. You're going to be stuck at arm's length because there's simply no way we can trust you. None. And that's sad that half of America is out the window. Half of America has lost their minds to the point where they're not savable. And I don't mean that in a spiritual sense. Like, obviously, Jesus can save anybody. But from a political standpoint, from a national standpoint, there's just no way. The fact that half of our country thinks that it's okay to vote for a party that murders babies, that grooms children, that mutilates children and lets adults mutilate themselves with this transgender stuff. You have a party that allows criminals to run free, but then locks up old ladies for using their First Amendment rights on January 6th. You have a party that compares January 6th to 9/11 or to Pearl Harbor, even though the only person that died that day was Ashley Babbitt, one of the people who was a protester who was shot by a turncoat traitor pig. I mean, I love the police. I support the police. But that man was a treasonous traitor, so he deserves to be called a pig. I might ruffle some conservative feathers, but that is what it is. I'm not going to give him any respect. He killed an American patriot. He killed a veteran for literally nothing, protecting the traitors, protecting treasonous, seditious people. I have no sympathy. He is human garbage. That was the worst travesty on January 6th. It wasn't the protesters. It was the people that defended the politicians. The fact that they barricaded those doors and protected these people who deserve to be tarred and feathered and thrown out. Every single one of them is not a patriot, shouldn't even be called an American. Every single one of them should have opened those doors and said, have at them. There they are. Get the cowards. We're in rough shape, ladies and gentlemen. Very rough shape. Here in Wisconsin, that Evers won. So we have another 4 years of just absolutely nothing getting done. Absolutely nothing. Thankfully, our Congress is super majority Republican, although there are some rhinos in leadership that make it impossible for anything to happen. Especially the effeminate Robin Vos. That man is garbage. I can't believe they elected a man who let teachers look at porn on the job in the first place, and now he's reelected over a successful businessman that would have fixed a lot of the things wrong in our state, much like the successful businessman who fixed a ton of things in our country before he was illegitimately ousted with an election that, again, for lack of a better word, was illegitimate, that they cheated and stole. It's a sad day in our nation's history. Very sad. But we can't give up. I'm going to do everything I can to run for governor in Wisconsin in 2026. Get rid of Evers. Put our state back on the right track, and then hopefully from there help get our country back on the right track. It's the least I can do. We owe it to our kids. We owe it to our grandkids. We can't give up. It's hard. You got to mourn for a while, but you got to get back in the saddle. And it's scary, yeah. I mean, is there things that terrify me about even trying to run for governor? Sure. But being brave is not being scared. It's being scared but saddling up anyway. Frankly, we could all use a little bit of John Wayne now. But the fact of the matter is, God has a plan. God will get us through. All countries won't last forever. I hope ours does, but sooner or later, we'll get it back. We'll come back around. Fight the good fight, brothers and sisters, fellow conservatives. Hold your lines. Don't give in. Stand against abortion. Stand against immigration. Put America first. Stand up for each other. Someone punches you, punch them back. Enough of the high road. We need to defend ourselves. We need to defend our country. You can do it. I'm going to be doing it. Until next time, patriots, brothers and sisters, may God keep you and richly bless you. This is Jeremiah Stamper, founder and president of the Christian Nationalist Party, signing out until next time.